What up, Earthlings? It's me again, Jade. And today, it's been about a month since my original podcast. I'm here with my BFF, Drea. Say what's up.
Hi.
And we are here as best friends, spiritual sisters. We have a lot of similarities, and we have a lot of synchronicities that occur each time we hang out. It's never a coincidence. What was it today? Oh, we both put the same sticker in the same spot of our notebook.
Yeah.
Just a coincidence, as always. And
we shouldn't be surprised at this point.
yeah, literally every time we hang out, it's at least 2 or 3 different synchronicities that happen, and we just always start cracking up. And so today, I wanted to go a little deeper than crystals, although it does begin with crystals in one sense for me, and I wanted to talk about out-of-body experiences. Now, I know this is a topic that maybe a lot of people haven't experienced, but me and her, we experience these kind of things regularly, I'd say, not gonna lie. So I just wanted to share an experience that I had last night. I'm gonna read from my journal directly, and then I can explain it a little bit. So what happened was I was doing my meditation before sleep, in which I placed different rainbow-colored crystals on my 7 main chakras. And I started from root chakra, went up to sacral, then solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And I laid these upon myself and above my head and below my knee area. And I also included my one of my totem animals, a little jasper frog crystal that I have. And so I lined them up, and I just went in for my regular meditation, just lying in Shavasana, corpse pose, chilling out on the bed, no pillow, just flat, palms facing up. And I allowed the crystals and my guides to balance me physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And what happened was I all of a sudden had this experience, profound experience. And so now I'm going to read the journal entry from that. And here it goes. Pin-sized pain in my xiphoid process, which I'm not sure if you know where it is, but it's right where your breastbones meet. And you can put your finger in there. It's probably about like 6 inches above your belly button. Well, I was having a sharp pin-sized pain there in my xiphoid process, and it pulls my chest upward like I'm leaving my body. And all of a sudden, I am beetle. I see everything in cartoon-like rounded shapes. I am not a particular beetle. I am the entire species of beetle at once. Clouds are lumpy and funny to me, so I smile. And in reality, my human body was smiling when this happened. Earth is simple. Colors are simplified, but white stands out to me. Clouds stand out to me. I am centralized in all of consciousness. I am happily walking about when I see myself from above, a point in where the tops of my wings meet. I see my wings are white and reflective. I am not ornate, but plain like a beetle you would see struggling on its back in a pool. The pain comes again, pin-sized, where my breastbones meet in my xiphoid process. It's less intense than before, but my body is again jolted upward in that area. I am out of my body for certain now. I am always at home here in this blackness. I have been here several times before. The sensation is so light, I'm weightless, and my eyelids back down there on the bed are fluttering like crazy. And in the blackness, there are symmetrical patterns and various shades of green constantly in motion like a kaleidoscope of green and black. It's bliss. Something is speaking to me. Now, I didn't note in my journal, but this voice, it's just kind of like an omnipresent voice. It kind of comes from within me, but it also is coming from outside of me. I feel like it might be my oversoul, or it could be some of my guides, or a combination, and it just said, "You are beetle." And I realized I am beetle. Images of various birds are shown to me, and the omnipresent voice again says, "Crow watches you, protects you, bird watches you." And now, on my bed, tears are coming out of my eyes, but I know it's true because I've been seeing so many birds this year, and the past year or two, in reality, and when these images come, it's kind of just like, it's not like a dream, it's just like your eyelids are shut and you're just being granted visuals, and you know it's not necessarily coming from within you, so I like to think of it as visions coming from my guides. And at that moment, I was beetle, and I felt those visions coming, and I felt very warmed by those protective images of the birds. And the voice says to me, you can ask me a question. So I said, can you explain to me what's that haziness I've been feeling? Because I've been feeling kind of like sad when I go to bed, and I feel like there's a cloud hanging above me, and it's been like that since last month. And the voice is like, it's just old skin being shed. And at that moment, everything made sense. And I think, oh, that makes so much sense. And at that moment, I'm thinking that Boa, one of my main spirit guides currently, Boa Constrictor, is shown in a visual, again, in my third eye, my mind's eye, slithering up inside of me, like up through my chakras. And it was so comforting. I'm so protected and guided and loved by spirit. Things were making sense. Everything was so simplified. I was soon floating down into my human body. Slowly, I was coming back like, what just happened? Enter overactive, ego-based, human life, everyday thought stream. Ugh, I was loving the peace and clarity out there, and I was kind of upset to come back, to be honest. And that happens to me every time I have a really profound experience, because you just feel so complete when you're there.
Yeah, you feel at home.
You feel at home because it's like your spirit. It's not your body. It's not your mind. All of my thoughts had left me behind. Like, oh, I have to do laundry. Oh, I need to check my bank account, this bank account. Oh, I have to wake up for work at 5:30. All of those thoughts have been totally gone. And everything was so simple. I am Beetle. Crow protects you. And everything is one. And then I had to come back to my body. And it was like, wah, wah, wah. But at the same time, it's like, cool. I just gained like a super deep insight within myself and in connection to the earth. So it was a great experience. That's why I journaled it. And moments like that are really life-changing for me, because you can go searching forever and ever. And this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like you can go searching forever and ever, but things present themselves to you when you're ready. And it's like, I always wanted a guru, I always wanted a guide, but when I realized that I could just turn inward, and if I could find some peace and quiet, even if it was only 5 minutes or 3 minutes in a meditation, during that time, like a little fact would come to me. And it's like truth from so deep, way deeper than your human self. And you just know it to be true. And even if it's just a little fact, like, I am Beetle. I am Beetle. Like, I'm Beetle. I'm snake. I'm fox. I'm frog. I'm everything. I'm palm tree. I'm rose bush. I don't even like roses, It's like we are all connected. So that's my little commentary on that. And now here to join us and give a rendition of one of her experiences is my girl, Drea.
That was really detailed and really awesome.
Well, I wrote it down, so.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk about my first ever out-of-body experience. Just because I know that after you begin to be experienced with these kinds of things, I remember I had to really dig deep into like, oh, when was my first one? So my first one was, I had to be in high school, maybe a freshman or sophomore, and I had been doing a lot of praying at the time, but this was before I knew anything about crystals or chakras. Mm-hmm. So it was late at night, and I was getting ready for bed, and I was just laying on my bed face up, and I was definitely in that stage between like sleeping and being awake. Like I kind of stopped myself, and the first thing I felt was like this pulling, very similar to what you described. It started exactly the same way from the chest. So this pulling motion like from my chest. But what's interesting is that like it's so hard to explain, but like you feel this pulling sensation from your chest, but at the same time you feel like you're floating above your chest.
Yes. I know what you mean.
So I don't know if maybe in that moment I was like extracted somehow, but anyway, I went from floating above my chest to floating to my waist, to floating to my calves, to floating to my toes. Like I remember like going, like floating against my own toes and kind of like feeling my own toes. And in a way, I'm kind of like, oh, those are my toes. And now at that point, I was this ball of, the best way I could describe it is like I was this ball of light. I remember being like white light. And although I couldn't see myself being this ball of white light, like I just simply was. It's hard to explain if you haven't experienced it, but you, like, same way how like you were a beetle, like
Right.
you can't really go any deeper than that. You just were a beetle, like I just was a light, this like ball of light, even though I couldn't see like a reflection of myself. I just knew in that moment, like I'm this ball of light. And I remember just floating above myself and towards like the corner of my room. And I remember wanting to leave the room and kind of wanting to like explore, but I was scared to leave my room. It was my first time, so I was kind of also like, wait, what is happening right now? Like, this is
Right.
cool, but what is happening? So I was afraid to leave my room. And so I just told myself, like, just calm down. And as soon as I told myself that, like, in a finger snap, I was in space.
Duh.
I was in space. And I was kind of like taken back and just noticing how big our solar system is. And probably the biggest takeaway from being in space during this out of body experience is that like I saw our planets and our stars, but they had like an auric field around them. So I saw like the colors of the planet energetic wise, but also their colors, you know, like Jupiter has a color and Mars obviously like they have colors, but I was seeing beyond that and just seeing how unique each individual star is. I mean, it was just a lot to take in, and I almost saw it like in a sacred geometry kind of way. Like I remember seeing like grids. Yeah, and I just remember feeling like, oh, we're all like one, like we're all part of the same system. And then in a finger snap again, I was back in my room, and then in another finger snap again, I was like back in my body.
It happens quick.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
something, that takes a long time. You just, and you have no control really.
right. And this was completely unintentional. Like I was not meditating.
Right.
I was just like laying in bed really tired. And
I think that's the key though, because mine was happening in the same state of mind, or a key, because I was about to fall asleep, but I wasn't sleeping, and my meditation had finished, and I was dozing off, but I was in that same like brainwave state that you were in, and I think that that's kind of like a way to leave your body.
yeah.
Like I think that might be a ticket.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot of like you're not fully asleep, but you're like halfway there. Anyways, mine was completely unintentional. I don't really know how it happened. How did I end up in space or what? I mean, obviously things happen for a reason. Maybe I was supposed to learn in that moment that like we're all one and like it's not just Earth. Like space is also important and we can learn a lot from that perspective too. But yeah, completely unintentional. Completely took me by surprise. Definitely scared at first. Like, I think I should talk about that too. Like, it was a whole new experience for me. So at one point, like, I did want out, but I think curiosity, like, beat me to it.
Right.
Curiosity was definitely like, no, let's go. And space we went.
Duh.
And now, like, I'm such a nerd. Like, I love learning about space. Space is freaking awesome. And that can really just change your perspective on Earth. Like, learning how big space is one way to definitely, for me, be more spiritual and more connected.
Right.
Is like,
That makes sense.
you know, like you just realize all these facts about space and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm just this human walking on Earth, but I'm part of like this big solar system.
Right. So I just want to add that it's funny because in both of our experiences, we both realized that everything was connected. And in my experience that I just described, I realized that I was connected with all living things on Earth. And not necessarily living as in like alive, but even like rocks and sand and water and air. And you went way beyond that. You just like, boom, I'm out of this planet. Like, I'm in space. But even then, you still realized everything was connected. The stars, the planets, the people on the planet. And I just think it's interesting that we both noticed that. And, you know, hippies can be like, we are one love, but you can't really believe it unless you truly feel it somewhere in your heart from a spiritual experience or from a human experience, you know? And I don't know, I think that's important. And also I want to say that I feel really blessed to have Drea in my life because it's really hard to find people that have these crazy experiences like we do. And yeah.
Yeah, we manifested this friendship because I remember going through a lot of spiritual awakening. I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was getting just on another level. And I felt really sad because I didn't have anyone who had visions the way I do, or I didn't have anyone that had dreams the way I do. And I remember I was like legitimately praying for a friend.
Yeah,
I was like, God, you need to bless me with someone who can like relate to me because I'm feeling really lonely. Like it's been hard. And literally, I think that same week you popped into my job.
Oh, yeah.
And like the first time I was like, I said hi to you. Oh, cool, blah, blah, blah. And then the second time you came in and I'm like, Drea, you missed the sign. Like you missed the big sign. The second time you popped in, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like, I'm supposed to connect with you. And then I think I don't know, that same month or that same week, I remember we were, like, messaging each other about, like, fairies and stuff.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
We were like, oh, my gosh, it's fairies. And da-da-da-da-da. Fairies, yes.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, let that be an inspiration to you guys, too. Like, if you're feeling like, I'm having these out-of-body experiences, or I'm going through this during a meditation, or if you're just having like a lot of dreams. For me, it was like I was having all these dreams that were coming true, or they were just like really symbolic, or I just felt like I was really, really aware, but I was feeling lonely that I couldn't connect with anyone. There's always like books and resources, but it's really helpful to have someone else who experiences them that you can share with. So,
and at least be on the phone with.
Yeah, so definitely, pray for that person and they will surely pop into your life without a doubt.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, because your stories are always amazing and they always take me from 0 to 1,000, not even 100. They just swoop me right out to 1,000. And so to end things off, I want to do a reading for my listeners from my Crystal Intentions Oracle deck. So yeah, Drea, you can talk, I guess, if you want. If you have anything else to say, I'm just going to be shuffling right now.
Yeah, we're just going to set the intention that these cards have a strong message for whoever's listening, and that it's from a high vibration, and that we get a message of love and guidance. And there's so many different ways to use crystals. You can wear them as a reminder throughout the day to keep you energized. I love to wear them during the day, and every time I glance at one, I say a little affirmation. So it's a good way to keep your affirmations going. You can energize your water with crystals. You can really do a lot. You can make crystal grids. You can just hold crystals while you're meditating and just feel the energy coming from them, which can feel very purifying, very cleansing.
Okay.
Let's see what we have.
So here we got Jet, which is a dark black crystal, and it's known for grounding you and having really strong protection. It says, I am always divinely protected. I know I am safe. Release anxiety, anger, jealousy, and frustration. Deflect negative energy. Practice meditation on a regular basis. Invoke divine protection. Improve ability to quiet the mind. So when I was shuffling the cards, and Andrea was speaking with you guys, I was thinking in my mind, what is a great card? What is a great crystal for my listeners? What do they need right now? And it came up as jet. So apparently you guys are stressed out. I mean, aren't we all?
Yeah.
In different ways. So you don't have to actually have the crystal jet, but even by invoking the presence of the crystal spirit jet,
Or just saying the affirmation.
or just saying this affirmation, I am always divinely protected. I know I am safe. You can repeat that to yourself. You can just know that you can even Google a picture of jet and then get it in your mind's eye and then think about that photo of
the
jet.
little visualization.
Right. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Drea, for being here.
Hey, thank you for inviting me.
Alrighty, peace out, yo.